What's up? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Mm-mm, mm-mm. I'm trying a new style with my hair. It's a little half up, half down vibe, guys. A little satin hair tie because we gotta protect the curls at all costs. So I'm so excited today, guys. We are going live with Alexis Jones Hardy. I'm so pumped. So excited. Hi. Hi. How are you? Hi. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Hi, Chrissy. Hi. Okay, we got Alexis. Oh, thank you. I'm trying to treat them, I'm trying to treat these curls good during quarantine. Let me turn this up. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay. Perfect. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing really good. I'm happy it's another week. We got through it. So, well, we're it's the beginning of the week, should I say? But yeah, we got through this last week. So yeah, I don't know. Every week I'm just trying to take it day by day, honestly. So how have you been?
I've been pretty good. I'm trying to kind of have like a reset, refresh on this week. I feel like last week was just so much going on in the news and just like it just felt like a kind of heavy energy. So I'm trying to just reset and, get back on
I love
routine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. I feel the same way. It's kind of a weird little shift. But I mean, you're in Georgia right now, so Georgia has opened up, right? Like, so what is open to be specific?
Nail salons, hair salons, barbershops, tattoo parlors,
Okay.
most of them are doing still like takeout or patio seating, but I have seen some that are dine in, that are open for dine in. Um, yeah, I
Have you
see people.
partaken? Have you gone out to eat and sat down yet?
I've gone to like breweries that have like outdoor seating, uh, but no, I'm not. I don't. I'm not ready to go sit in a restaurant anytime
Yeah.
soon.
Still a little scary. No, I
I,
totally get it. Wait, I think your audio blinked out. What'd you say?
I said if I'm outside, I feel pretty okay.
Yeah. No, I understand. Well, I'm really happy to have you here, Alexis. Thank you so much for joining Funk the Influence on another connection session. This is, I don't know, it's just really fun for me to do. Like, I like talking to people and, seeing what's going on. And this conversation, you as a holistic wellness advocate, I, really just wanted to talk to, you just about health in general, what you do, and just from an opinion of someone else. So, this week is actually Women's Health Week. Um, so, this is kind of perfect timing for all of this to kind of come into play. But I wanted to let people know that we will be talking about, mental health. We'll be talking about, a little sex education, body positivity, and then also your work with Lululemon. So, I don't know if you want to kind of, I guess we can just kind of get into like who you are. If you want to give the audience a little intro.
Sure. So, uh, Alexis. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, well, right outside the city. And I am just super, super passionate about having conversations that are like real and that are about real things, mental health, um, how we're just doing in our day. Like people are struggling, not just right now, especially right now, but,
Yeah.
all the time going through things, and just being in conversation about how we can help each other, help ourselves through those type of situations. Also super passionate about sex ed. I think it's something so lacking in our country, in our community as Black people. just really in general.
Yeah.
So those are my like top main things that I love to talk about.
I love it. So I guess let's dive right into it. Since it is kind of Women's Health Week, not only is, your body important, your health and knowing what's going on with yourself, listening to your body important, but a part of that is, kind of understanding your body, like your behaviors, right? So like anxiety is something that I know people have a hard time explaining what it is, what it feels like to them, because it may be different for different people. So I guess, can you kind of tell me what anxiety looks like for you, and ways that you soothe that?
Yeah, so I have been diagnosed with PTSD, which is an anxiety disorder. So it's something that I struggle with daily and probably will for a long time. So the past couple of years have just been focusing on like what are some tools in my tool belt that I can use, like when I'm not feeling great, learning how to recognize like, okay, I'm like drinking a lot of coffee right now, like what's going on, or I feel really agitated, or maybe I'm a little bit irritated, like
Mm-hmm.
just checking with when I start to feel off, just certain behaviors that I have that tend
Yeah.
to pop up when I'm stressed and I'm not paying attention. So one of my main things that I have to do every day is meditate. It's like I know meditation has become really popular and it's just become very trendy, but genuinely just sitting with yourself in a quiet or outside for 10 minutes and just take a couple of deep breaths, like that's sometimes that's all I need. Sometimes I gotta sit there for 30 minutes or longer. But just taking a minute, taking a breath, just three deep breaths is something that really just kind of down regulate your body. Um, yeah, going outside. I go for a lot of hikes. There's a lot of trails in Georgia.
For sure. You guys got the beautiful mountains, Stone Mountain.
There's mountains and there's like rivers. There's North Georgia. There's just all kind of areas, nature areas, all kind of things to do. So going outside, like it's really hard to be in a bad mood if you're outside.
Yeah, very true. I feel that way. So, are there any, I guess, because those are very much like kind of natural remedies that anyone can do. Are there any other, maybe like herbal or natural remedies that you do to kind of, relieve your stress or anxiety?
Magnesium. There's like a powder that's called Calm.
Okay.
Um, I just sometimes will drink it at night. Just kind of magnesium powder, just good for anxiety. You could do that. Tea, essential
What's your
oil.
favorite?
I like peppermint and like chamomile. Um, like I have this lavender honey tea also that's really good.
That sounds good. That sounds really bomb.
Um,
Um,
Essential oils,
okay.
diffusing, putting the diffuser on, that can be really helpful, soothing. Anything that just feels good to you. Like
Yeah.
when you think about like, ooh, that feels good, whether that's a cozy blanket or a book or calling a friend, whatever it might be that makes you feel good is a good way to kind of get you out of your head and kind of focus your attention elsewhere.
Yeah. I love that. So, there are times where maybe you can't get out of that feeling. You know what I mean? Like you just kind of feel, I guess, more so stuck in that. Tell me what you do when you are feeling stuck, um, and how you kind of fight through that or get through that.
I would say the first thing is to remind yourself that it's okay to not feel good. Like there's a like happiness is like a big buzzword. Like you should feel happy all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's unrealistic and it's just so much pressure to put on yourself. So just a reminder like, okay, today might be a day that I don't feel great.
Yeah.
So what can I do to soothe? What can I do to make it as good as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when you do feel stuck, it's a great time to like ask yourself some questions, and your problem, like anxiety, like your body feels what's going on sometimes more than our minds are paying attention. We're going too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, kind of feeling stuck, take a step back and try to figure out what is keeping you stuck,
Yeah.
which might take a few days for you to get to that point, but just start asking the question.
Yeah. I like that because it can definitely be something that, you're just putting on yourself. A lot of times I know we put our own stress and plus the environment stress. So it's like having both of those, it can just be a lot. So I'm totally there with you. Do you have like a personal mantra that you practice that maybe you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so I would say one of the biggest ones, especially in the past year, is like really like getting it like in my soul, like what's for you is for you. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to you don't have to grind, you don't have to go out of your way, you don't have to do people dirty, you don't have to all you have to do is be yourself and be open and like what's for you to you. So like when I get anxious, it's because I'm worried about money or I'm worried about work or I'm worried about not being a good friend or whatever stories I'm telling myself that day.
Yeah.
Um, and just taking a step back and remind, like, I'm okay. Things are okay. What's for me. It's like an abundance mindset. Like
Yeah.
you can
I like that.
apply that to everything. Like what you're supposed to have, what's for you is gonna be there, and you just have to trust that.
Yeah. I love that. I'm feeling calm already. I don't know how. Maybe it's your voice. I'm feeling very calm already. So that's amazing. Um, and I think a part of that is, as well, just you coming to this point, right? Because I'm sure it took you a while to get to this point to understand how to listen to yourself, right? How to deal with the stresses that come along with life. Um, I guess where in life, I guess, was it a point where you kind of were like, I'm accepting who I am and where I am? Like, what did it take for you to get to that point?
Mm, I would say the timeline has been like the past 2 years, and of
Okay.
course, we're always like
Evolving. Yeah.
on this part of myself, I'm gonna have to discover some new parts. But the past 2 years really have been a deep dive into like the things that have been holding me back. Like past trauma. Like I've been in therapy, girl. But trauma and just places in my life where maybe I don't have the abundance mindset and kind of figuring out where those stories came from. Um, and I think yeah, I therapy is really because you get an external view,
Yeah. Like an unbiased opinion.
biased. They have no outcome in either. They don't, and a good therapist is not telling you what to do. If anything, you leave therapy more confused because they didn't give you an answer. Because it's about figuring out yourself. You're just learning the tools on how to do that. And I think I have had um, great therapists who helped me with that. Also, I'm an avid podcast listener. I love to read. There's authors that I think have really contributed to my evolution, helping me learn. So it's just self discovery is what it's about. Being curious about yourself is most important.
That's a great key. 100% curious about yourself, curious about life. I think curiosity can take you in so many places. So I love that you spoke of that. Kind of going back to you saying you seeking therapy. I mean, you don't have to get into detail, but what was that made you seek therapy? Where you were like, you know what, I need I need someone else to hear me out that's not related to me? Like, what made you seek therapy?
Um, I have experienced some sexual trauma past when I was about 18. And I've been to therapy. That was something that I did as a kid too. Like my mom was always like good at recognizing when I needed help. But this particular time, I just felt myself um, kind of going down into a deeper depression, like where I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get out by myself. And I'd recognized that before because I had let myself get that low. So it was like a learning this time. I'm going to kind of go before it gets too bad.
No, that's great. And I think that kind of goes back to, paying attention to yourself and the patterns that you are displaying at the time. So I think that speaks, I mean, one, great to you, because at 18, was it 18 when you started therapy, or was it a little bit later in life?
um, I went like when I was a kid, and
Okay.
then I started. I did. I've been going on and off, probably consistently for the past like 4 years.
Okay. You're just
Hold
an
on.
advocate, and that's good. Like okay. She'll be right back. I think it's the dog barking. Oh, I thought it was your puppy. um, but no, I think that's great, because I think breaking down that what is that stereotype about therapy, and about, I think a lot of people in our community especially become afraid of therapy. They're like, why do I want someone else in my business? You know, yeah, I think it's great to hear that you are doing that. And do you ever encourage other people to go to therapy?
All the time. Um, I'm very open about my own therapy. I talk to my friends about like, yeah, I was in therapy today, girl, and my therapist said da 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 da, and I really like. I'm very open about that with my friends because I think it shouldn't be anything shameful. There shouldn't be any sort of shame um, in needing to talk to someone, not being able to do it on your own. Like, there's no shame in that at all. And work for a company that's very supportive of that also. So, like, my therapy is covered under my benefits. So it's encouraged in my community
Right.
to take advantage of those resources. Um, and even if therapy's not for you, because I think, it might, I don't know, but I think there are ways to, maybe it's a life coach, maybe it's reading books from people who have experience of something that you're struggling in. It's not all about therapy, but for me, therapy has been like top three things that I have done that I do that keep me in a good space.
That's beautiful. So you speak on Lululemon and how they encourage you to, be well, and they encourage wellness and health from mind, body, and soul. Can you tell me what that company has done for you, as far as helping build that confidence overall?
Yeah, so I would say the main thing has been community. Like that's one of the biggest pillars. Like it and it sounds so cheesy when you have to explain it, but it really is about like community and building and supporting each other both in the store and out of the store. Like whatever your endeavors are, whatever your goals are, like we do like vision and goal sessions. I've gotten the opportunity to lead my team in a goal setting session, which has really opened up my eyes to something like that's something that I actually love doing, and I'm pretty good at it, and I'm getting a lot more opportunity to do things like that. There's all kinds of resources in terms of like um, support in keeping active, like sweating together, like team workouts. Like there's just so much about your whole person.
Yeah.
It's about who you are at work. It's like all the aspects of outside of work as well are just as important.
I love that because I mean, you don't get that a lot in jobs where usually an employer is not, helping you build that confidence within yourself. They just want you to work, and I don't care what you have to do to get it done. So that's great that Lululemon definitely invests in their people. And it's about health. So I guess you can't be a company about health and not do that for your employees. So
Really.
I
And then another thing that I think I really learned from working there has been the importance of feedback, the importance of being honest with people, the importance of speaking up when you think something, when you have an idea, the importance of listening to other people's ideas, um, and being able to like hear things about yourself. Um,
yeah.
Not easy.
Yeah, a little constructive criticism.
Yeah, and I think being able to both receive and give feedback in a respectful, open, and honest way that's coming from a place of love and like I want you to be a better person because we all want to be the best we can be, um, has really transferred into my personal life as well.
I love that. And it sounds like, like I said, it just sounds like building self confidence, self love within. So, speaking of self love, I know a lot of people were kind of interested in us getting into, talking a little bit about sex because it's something that at times it's taboo and then at times it's okay, right? Like, I hear the porn industry has risen like crazy during this quarantine.
Yeah.
And why not? So, what I wanted to do today is I kind of wanted to debunk a couple of myths that maybe maybe you don't know, but that we can kind of just go through. I just I hate hearing things and I'm like, that is so not true. So, are there any myths that that are just like kind of ridiculous that maybe you want to debunk here on Fuck the Influence?
Yeah, so I one that I encountered actually like maybe last week, the idea that you can lose feeling in your clit if you masturbate too much.
How about that was definitely one of my questions. Oh my goodness. Please answer this.
That's not true. You might need to take a little bit of break, you know, but give her 30 minutes and you'll be just fine. You know, you can't masturbate too much,
I love that.
you know.
That's good to know. So everyone out there, get it going.
Right.
Okay?
May is also masturbation month, so it's a great time to celebrate.
There we go. I love it. May masturbation. That makes sense, you know?
Right.
It goes together. So
Also,
another
anxiety too. If you are feeling tense, it's a great way for your body to relax and get you good,
definitely.
good hormones. It releases muscle tension. It relieves anxiety. Like it's just all around a great idea.
Yes. I hear it's a celebration. So yes, we are with it.
Yeah.
So another myth that I've heard for years, you being a former athlete, I used to be a former athlete as well. Maybe y'all can't tell now, but your girl used to be athletic. But one of the myths that I remember hearing was uh, that sex affects athletic performance. Do you believe in this?
Mm, I think maybe if you like for some people when they come, it can like just be very draining. So it
Mm-hmm.
might for you, like you need a nap after. It might not be the best time before, but for some people, it energizes them. Like I think that just depends on you. I think it's always a good time to like, get your juices flowing. Get your heart rate going, get your blood flowing.
Yeah. I've heard that for so many athletes, football players, basketball players, like, oh, I can't go do this the night before.
Yeah, that's like I've heard that in terms of like before big game, like don't or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, but it's hilarious. So I'm into it. Are there any other myths that kind of annoy you when you hear it?
Yeah, one is about like hymens, and that I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. Your hymen is each person is so different that there's literally like no correct, proper, or like how it should be. Um, so, unfortunately, there are still places in the world where like women, that's a way that someone's virginity is determined. And that's like still going on in 2020 in some places. And it just is not an accurate way. It's not a thing. It's not something that you can tell. It can be broken or torn, or sometimes it repairs itself, sometimes it doesn't. And all of those things are just different for each person. So basing someone's sexual history off of that one issue,
Minor thing, right?
strange to me.
Yeah, very much so. I agree. Um, and what about orgasms? Because I know a lot of guys think that every time they're with a girl, it's on and popping, and she's feeling amazing. But I know people who have told me that they haven't had an orgasm, or their first orgasm was when they were 30, and this person is in their mid 30s. So to me, that's like a wasted, like it's like so wasteful. Like
You've been doing.
right. What are we
So
doing?
I think, unfortunately, there's so much pressure around orgasms. There's a thing called gap, primarily in heterosexual couples. Like, you know, for a lot of people, sex is complete when the male person comes, and whether or not the female bodied person does is, optional almost. Um, I think a lot of women have never experienced an orgasm, not because they can't, but because they haven't learned their body. Um, I think I think another reason why masturbation is so important is because nobody's gonna do it for you, and like until you understand yourself, your body, what feels good to you, what doesn't feel good to you, and until you can communicate that, you're just going to continue having mediocre sex.
Very true. Very, very true. And I think that has to do with maybe being comfortable with your body. Because I tend to know a lot of women who are more comfortable with their naked selves. They have more pleasurable orgasms.
I think, yeah, I don't think if you're worried about how you look while you're having sex, you're not having good sex.
No.
Because, and I like good sex is like literally whatever that is for you, but it's where you're in the moment. You're not worrying about all the other things. It's like you and the person or the people, whoever, and you're all in, all your focus is on, and it's like focused on like what feels good and not what looks good. And I think a lot of women, unfortunately, because we have such a hard time like feeling good in our bodies, feeling good naked, accepting ourselves,
Yeah.
are and like what we bring to the table. It's hard, of course, to feel comfortable like that in front of somebody if you're not comfortable with yourself. Um, so doing work around like maybe just walk around your room naked for a couple minutes when you get out of the shower. Just like get more comfortable with who you are.
Yeah.
Because it's great. I
Right.
promise. I
Right.
promise. I promise it can feel good. It can do things for you. It, you know, like, and working on not being in your head so much about it
Hmm.
can really help, I think, close the gap. Because if you're thinking about all these other things and how you look and what the other person is thinking, and if, you know, like all those just, and we all do, and like they're gonna pop in, but being able to
Yeah.
just like put that to the side for a second,
Yeah.
or being vulnerable with your partner and say, this is how I'm feeling right now. You know, maybe I need just a minute. Um, I think that's a great place to start in terms of being able to orgasm, because I I think it's very rare that there's like some structural thing that's preventing that. So much of it is mental.
Your head. Yeah. I agree. I think it's you have to clear it out. You have to really focus, like you said, focus on you and your partner, what you're doing, getting in the moment. So I totally agree. Do you think that maybe certain women, maybe not of our generation, right, but maybe of our parents' generation, where uh the female form, right, the female form and sexuality was kind of looked at as, you should not be talking about this, you should not be, you know what I mean? So it kind of, I don't know if it made people more, I don't know. Let me rephrase what I'm trying to say. So I feel like people of our parents' generation aren't as comfortable talking about these things as you and I are, right? And also, maybe they weren't as comfortable. I've heard my aunt say it before, like, you girls are so comfortable with your bodies these days. Like, we were never like that. Do you feel like it had to do with maybe that time period that they grew up in, of, you know, it being a new thing for women to kind of be sexually liberated in a sense?
For sure. I think it's definitely like a privilege that we have now
Hmm.
to feel that way about our bodies, to kind of throw those old, like, because when, I mean, you know, I grew up in a Black Southern Baptist missionary church,
Hmm.
and so much of the messaging was about purity and like not being a fast girl and not, you know, just all those
Right.
different things that were put on you, like that. Definitely, I think our generation is starting to kind of break through that. Like, we're like, wait a minute, that's not actually true.
Right.
But I do think our, you know, our parents um, definitely grew up in a time where, like, you know, church, I think, was, you know, religion in general was a lot more of the norm. Like, the numbers of like people who actually go to church are just like declining so much. Our generation is like not interested. Um, so I think that there's just a lot of like questioning going on for our generation. Like, wait a second, we don't have to necessarily go by this.
Right. We
Um,
don't have to follow those rules.
but there's still so much of it that lingers. There's still so much judgment around women who choose to be sexual, or women who choose to express that maybe out loud. There's judgment around women who choose not to be sexual. Like, it goes both ways. There's just so much. I think we're starting to have the conversation, but there's so much more conversation to be had. I think our generation is getting curious about what might be more true for us.
Yeah. I feel like we're not afraid to ask those questions as they were told not to ask those questions, right? Like when you're grown up and they say stay out of grown folks' business, right? Um, yeah, I feel like now we're not afraid. Yeah, like you said, we're definitely curious.
And
We have questions about everything.
it's like, even if you are more like, because I know a lot of people who still like feel weird or yeah, you know, when it comes when it comes to sex. Um, but it's really everywhere now, regardless of if you want to address it or not.
Right.
And it's important that we address it in a productive way rather than just letting the media or porn or girls on Instagram, whatever that is, like we should be we should be learning and we should be teaching our next generation and kids
Right.
like they're gonna learn
From
either
their
way.
friends.
They're gonna yeah, they're gonna get the information either way. And I think it's like, do we want them to have real information that's gonna help them make good decisions for themselves, for their bodies, or are we just gonna be like, oh nope, can't talk about it and let them figure it out for I don't think that works. It obviously doesn't work because the United States has some of the worst sex ed, the
Yeah.
worst rates of STDs. You know, we're
And do
not.
you feel that way? Because I was listening to a conversation, I think Wendy Williams was having it, and she asked her audience, how many of you use condoms?
Mm,
And people were like looking around like, you know? And she was, I guess, more so astonished, like, wow, you guys really don't use condoms. You guys really don't think anything is out here.
right.
Um, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like people that you know are more they're just out here raw dogging it everywhere, they're just like not caring, like why do you, because I know that people are not
Yeah.
using protection, so my thing is, why do you think people aren't caring as much? Why do you think that our generation is a little bit more lackadaisical with that?
I think I don't think it's just our generation. I think all generations, if we're like honest.
Yeah.
Um, and I honestly think it comes down to like education, like especially if you're going from like a lot of sex education programs. Like I live in the South, you know, and you either didn't get any or you got abstinence. So they're not teaching about the things that could go wrong or the things that can go right.
Yeah.
They're
Or what's actually happening.
it, and then when you get married, then we can talk about it. But it's like the reality of that is just not. That's just not reality. People are not waiting until they get. Most people are not waiting until they get married to have sex, and pretending like they are. I think gives shame to people because they feel like they're not supposed to be doing it anyway. So then it's shameful to like the act of going and buying condoms is an intentional act. And so if you're like feeling shame about having sex in the first place, you're probably not going to go out and do the things. You're not going to go and buy the condoms. You might not go and buy the lube. You might not, be talking to your doctor openly and honestly about what you're doing. You might not be taking your birth control right because you don't know the side effects. Like there's so many things that just go into, honestly, I think us just not knowing.
Yeah.
We don't have information. I took, how I even got into this was my last semester of college. I took this class called Psychology of Human Sexuality. I thought it was just going to be like an easy A type of class. I had like one credit left, and it blew my mind because I was 23 learning something learning things that I should have known before I ever started having sex. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
having that information, I was looking back on certain circumstances, certain situations where had I had better information, I might not have made that choice. I might not have gone that route. I might have spoken up a little bit more. I might have made sure that I was using protection all the time. Like having the information is like baseline,
Yeah.
and having people being able to feel like they can ask the questions is awesome. Because if you can't ask questions or you feel shame about even asking, you're just gonna go for it and you're probably not gonna make the right choice.
Very true. I totally agree. I think and I think this conversation, it can go in so many ways, right? Um, talking about, when you talk about sex and you talk about sexuality, and you talk about just more so being comfortable in, you're speaking of having knowledge, which is so important, because I think most of us, when you start having sex, you have no clue what you're doing. You're going based off what your friends are telling you, what your boyfriend told you was fine, like, you know what I mean, what you read in Cosmo, you know what I'm saying? So I think the facts out there can be very misleading and confusing, especially to young people who, are just unequipped and unaware of, what is actually out there. So, are there any, like, I guess more so, specific facts that you would like to share with people that maybe they're unaware of?
Mm,
Maybe they're like sex facts, or like things that maybe like women's facts, things about women that are kind of common, but maybe you feel like you're the only one going through it.
yeah, I think a big thing I will say is that whatever your genitalia looks like, it's normal. I think people think that it's, because most of us don't know what someone else's vulva looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So just knowing like there's not a one way that it's supposed to look, and like how yours looks is fine. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about different things in terms of that. I would say I don't think a lot of people know that the clitoris has actually more nerve endings than a penis does. It's actually more sensitive. And it's a lot bigger than just the outside part. It's
Right.
actually like an entire structure. Um, and it actually is very, very similar to a penis. Like if you put the two, like the full things next to each other, they're very structurally similar. Um, I think that that's like I think the clit is getting a little bit more, fanfare now,
Yeah.
um, but a lot of misconceptions in the past. um,
100%.
yeah, and I think the biggest thing when it comes to sex is that, at least for me, from my perspective, it's communication. So whatever is going on with your body, with whatever, being
Mm-hmm.
able to conversation with the person, people that you're engaging with is like hands down most important. Like I'm not into like, ooh, this position or ooh, this trick, whatever. Like all those things are fun and fine and like play around and explore. But really the thing I'm most hopeful for is that having these kind of conversations will lead to people having them with their partner, having them with the person where you're having sex with. Like, and if you feel like you can't have the conversation, maybe you shouldn't be having sex with that person.
100%. I totally agree. I totally agree with that. What do you feel? Because this is kind of something that I've, been kind of looking at just on Instagram. I think we all can see it. But how do you feel about, you know, I don't know if it's like the overtly sexuality, or the put it in your face type of modeling, I guess you would say, right? Like when women who are, they maybe they just show their butt on Instagram, and then that's their thing, but then they get kind of mad about someone saying maybe comments in the comment section. Um, like, I guess I don't really know how to feel about that, right? Because it's kind of like you're putting it out there. Anytime you put anything out there, it's up for opinion. Us doing this here, people can have whatever opinion they want. Um, but like, I guess more so in, because that is like what do they determine that as a sex worker? Like, I'm not totally sure, right? Because depends on, I guess, what you're selling.
I honestly think it's not a one size fits all. I think you have to kind of, and it's, I think it comes down to intention.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, you can't always, you don't know what somebody's intentions are. So, in terms of like judging what somebody else chooses to put there, I don't, I can't really, I don't feel like I should judge
Judge in that way, yeah.
that way because I don't know that person. And I fully believe that, you know, people should be able to do whatever they want. Like if you're, you know, respectful of people and you're not, hurting people, you're not like on someone else's anything, like you're just doing you. Like I fully believe people should be able to do what they want. In terms of like comments, I, I think it's a line because yes, anything you put out there, this art, music, a podcast, literally whatever it is that you're gonna do, somebody is gonna have an opinion on it. Somebody's gonna feel some type of way about it. And I think it's just like, okay, if those things are really getting at you,
Yeah,
I
because
think
I just hear a lot of people say this.
I think only yeah, I think you have to be just aware that you are going to get that, and
Right.
then what kind of maybe self-care practices do you put around yourself to protect yourself? And I also think that like we as a culture, we just feel like we can come in on other people's bodies, other people's faces, other people's everything. Um, and I think if more people just like, if you're happy with what you're doing, then just leave other people alone if that's what they're doing. You know,
Right.
that's how I feel about it.
I like that. So you're like, mind the business that pays you, basically.
Right. So if especially on Instagram, it's like, if you are taking the time to comment on something that you don't like, it's
Right.
just like, don't follow that person, like don't,
You're wasting your time.
right. You don't have to you don't have to be here. Like, and I'm someone like taking like sexy pictures and like if you look at my Instagram, like that's a lot of um what's on there. And like if I'm being really, really honest, like yeah, there are some times where like that's for me, that's something that made me feel good. And then yeah, there are times where it's more about like maybe I just wanted some likes. Maybe I just that was, like
No,
that's
and that's honesty.
that's real. And
Yeah.
but some literally is just for me. And that's why I can't judge another person putting anything up because I don't know what their intention was. I don't know what
They're going through.
they're going through.
Yeah.
Just mind your business, honestly.
Mind your business. No, I like that. But I do speak to Instagram a lot because, one, we're on this platform. Two, and it's blown up so much. And I think that, you know, the I guess sex industry or whatever is going to move on any platform where they can be one visible and two make money. You know.
Right. Instagram
Um
is a platform for sex workers because it's a safe way for them to interact with clients. It's a great way for them to get themselves out there.
mhm.
Like people who that's how they want to spend their money. And there's people who that's how they make their money. And I think like I think Instagram as like a platform maybe could do a little bit better of because like there are kids and like there's no real walls in
Yeah.
sexual content or erotic content and stuff like that. But that's up to those people, those kids' parents to be checking in what they're doing. That's not
Right.
workers' problem. you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's definitely not their job to police your children. So I totally agree in that way. Um, so I don't know. I guess we can kind of like move around from the sex, and I really want to, body positivity is a big thing for me, just because I think a lot of people can look at you and be like, "Oh, you should be confident. You should be whatever in yourself because you look pretty." And you're like, "No, I actually still struggle with certain things." Um, I guess can you speak to, I guess, whenever you felt your most loved self, right? Like how you self-love, like tips on how you do that.
Yeah, so I'm a
And
human being.
also, wait, have you ever been through, you know, something or felt a way about your body where you just it wasn't always the most positive feeling?
Yeah. So yes, 100%. I think that's the biggest thing is to know that like literally every single person has things that they feel insecure about, things that they worry about, things that they wish were different. Literally every person, and this is like 100% of people.
Yeah.
And my particular thing is like I've had quite a few surgeries, so I've got a lot of scars, especially on my knees. I've got scars that are like this long on both knees, um, and like they're not cute. So I had to just kind of shift the mindset. Like when I start feeling not great about the scarring, I just think about like how strong my body is, all the things on a daily basis that it does for me, how it protects me, how great it is at healing itself. Like I try to speak to more of those things,
Hmm.
um, and that helps me take the focus off of the aesthetic. Um, of course, there are days and there are times and you know periods where I'm like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not
Yeah.
feeling myself. Um, but yeah, focusing on like the productivity or the what my body can do for me is important. Um, eating good food that I know is gonna make me feel good is also a good thing. Like I'm not really into you know specific diets. Like there's infinite amount of diets and like they work for some people, they work for don't, they work for others. Like it's just there's so much out there in terms of the diet space. And I
Hmm.
think for me, focusing on foods that make me feel good, like I know that avocado makes my brain feel good. When I feel anxious, it helps me with anxiety, it just makes my brain feel good. So that's a food that I navigate towards. Um, and just really I think focusing on how you want to feel in your body, and then that can take manifest outside. you know if you're feeling good and you're eating well and you're moving your body every day, there are going to be physical changes that come along with that. And I think focusing there is what helps me to not get into like a negative spin.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. I think we've all, especially as women, we've all had to find ways and feel comfortable within our own skin. So
Because it literally
I, I totally
matters
understand.
what you look like, really, because there's gonna be something that society and people are telling you like not the most beautiful,
Right.
and what's deemed like, the best body type. Just look in our lifetime, look at how much that has shifted.
Right.
Like I was, younger, middle school, high school, it was all about being as skinny as possible. How
Yeah.
much shifted and changed. So kind of giving yourself permission to not have to fit into what's trendy at the moment, and just
Right.
finding where you feel good, a weight that feels good for you, a movement schedule that feels good for you, food that makes you excited. I think all those are ways to just keep the negative talk down.
To a minimum, yeah. No, and I mean that's very true. I mean, you made a great point when you said that body types have changed over time. You know, you're the very skinny was very true. I remember when Tyra Banks had her talk show. Remember she had the Tyra show, and she was looked at as overweight, right? But at the time, she had already retired and all that, and done her America's Next Top Model. But I just remember being so inspired by her, like, you know, this is a Black woman who has her own talk show, and like she's smart, and you know what I mean, like people respect her, and like that was somebody I looked up to at the time. And so when I remember she did an episode on body positivity, and she wore a bikini that she wore like back in the 90s, that she kind of outgrew it, right? Like her boobs are bigger, everything was a little bigger. And I just remember loving that episode. And obviously I'm speaking to it now because it was so impactful for me, because at the time I was still in high school. So I just remember being like, that's amazing. And, you know, I need to see more of that, because I was so used to seeing people just like characters on TV, you know, and then now we've shifted to this mold of, you know, healthy body, right? Like a fit body, you know, and then there's also people who desire a body similar to, um, you know, maybe like a Kardashian or something, where it's a little more, they've had help enhancing that look.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. I
yeah.
struggle, like, I wish my butt was, a little bit bigger. It just ain't. And I'm
Just saying.
like, and it is what it is, And one of my favorite things is I one time I started paying attention to, like, when we give each other compliments, how many of those compliments are based on our physical appearance.
Mm,
Really being intentional about complimenting people on something, about their personality, about how they made you feel, and when they said that, like, folk finding things about people that aren't like, oh my God, you're so pretty, which is fine. We all want to hear, like, we're attract, you know what I mean? Like, we need to hear that we're human beings,
right.
but also starting to, like, focus more on your, like, who you are as a person, like how you've impacted my life, like how you being a friend, how you've shown up for me, and how that made me feel, like sharing those things with people and putting people's worth there. Oh, take I just think there's so much focus on body, and I
Right.
think also something that there's so much pressure to feel good, and like
Yeah.
maybe is like just feel neutral, maybe that's how, sorry, I was reading that comment. Yeah,
Yeah.
hey,
She said, now I'm going to pay
it's
attention. Yeah.
like on Instagram, in real life, like that's just the first thing we go to, and because it takes a little bit longer. You have to, like, get to know something about someone before you actually can compliment them.
Right. Before you can say your soul is so beautiful.
Like, one time, one of my friends, I posted something, she was like, I love your brain. And I love that
Yeah.
because I was like, it
No
was
one's
just
ever said that.
right. No one had ever said that to me, and I loved it.
That's amazing. I love that. And I love that we've had this conversation. IG is about to cut us off though in 40 seconds. So I just wanted to thank you for doing this conversation on Funk the Influence. Is there anything you want to say, or, you know, just tell the audience before we go? We got
Yeah.
30 seconds.
You to all my friends who showed up for me. I see you. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Um, if you have any feedback, I would love to hear it. Find me on Instagram. Um, I'd love to have
I
that.
pinned her name right there, guys.